Hello and welcome to a new episode of my podcast, The Entrepreneur and Leadership Live Talk. And today I'm so happy to have Petra Zink here on the show. And Petra has launched two businesses. One is called the impaCCCt and the other is the 360 Talent Corporation. Both businesses are designed to future-proof individuals and organizations by helping them to become the trusted authority in their field. impaCCCt offers one-to-one coaching workshops designed to build and monetize personal brands. That will be a large topic today. And the other is the 360 Talent Corporation, which helps companies to future-proof their business and the biggest assets, their talent. She helps people to go from expert to authority and to stand out in this more competitive and noisy world. And I love her saying, being the best at what you do doesn't mean you're well known for what you do. What means it's not the best who wins, it's the most visible who wins. And those who are the trusted authorities in their field are the ones who are chosen and make an impact in their messages. And her vision statement is, I help talented professionals get their message heard without having to be loud. And welcome, Petra. I'm so happy to have you here on this live talk. And hopefully I haven't forgotten anything in my introduction, which probably just add something to that, if you like.
Thank you so much for having me. The introduction was perfect. You are hired for the future introductions.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit about you? I think you're an Austrian living for decades already in Australia and launched your business and came to the person you are, means helping other people.
Yes, so I'm originally from Austria, and both our mother languages is actually German. And I came to Australia 11 years ago. Last month, I had my 11th anniversary. I came here for 6 months, and I never left because I love Australia. And to be honest, I also don't think that I will ever leave again. And yeah, it's been quite a journey. I went from being a corporate employee to working up the ladder to getting disrupted in my industry and my corporate profession, to then changing industry and now setting up my own business. And then about 3 years ago, I set up a second business just because one is not enough. And this is where we are right now.
Absolutely, very, very good. And we were through a very tough time, definitely, in the last 2.5 years. And lots of people really realized how important it is to be heard, to be visible. And what is your approach to get more visible, to be heard, and to be the go-to authority? Why is it important to stand out, especially post COVID-19?
Yes, well, that's such a good question because before COVID-19, it was already busy and noisy. But because of COVID-19, we had to pivot online, all of us. So all of a sudden, every single industry and space has become a lot more noisy and a lot more competitive. And the only way to stand out is by being seen as the go-to in your field. And I also want to make a big or the different explain the difference between what is an expert and what is an authority, because often people use those two words in the same context, but they are not the same. So an expert is somebody who knows a lot. An authority, however, is known for what they know. Often, especially in technical professions, say digital and tech, law, accounting, architecture, we are so much focused on doing the doing and getting more credentials and focusing on our craft that we forget to share what we know, and also don't translate our technical knowledge into a language that is easy to understand for commercial decision makers, for example. And this is exactly what an authority is all about, making the complex simple, translating their knowledge in a way that makes sense and resonates with their decision makers. And this is already one way how you can stand out. Nowadays, where we block ads, like how many ad blockers do we have? We pay the premium version to not get bombarded with any advertisement. We cannot outspend our competitors. The only way how we can stand out is out contribute through content, through interviews like that, through collaborations and partnerships. And this is exactly what the future of work is all about.
It's, I love as well this, I think you said as well, this example, the most visible wins mostly. And to be an authority, you have to be visible, because that you have competences and you have knowledge is one thing, but it's only potential, only if you can translate it in the language of your clients. Because in the end, it's about them. You have the chance to get heard, and then they go to you as an authority. And it's like McDonald's, they do not the best burger, but they're most visible. And it means
Absolutely.
if you
And
think
this
of
is also a
burger, you
big
think of McDonald's or
differentiation.
Burger King. Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a big differentiation between staying the expert and focusing on the craft and actually being known for it, because we can't expect people to pick up on how good we are if we are not sharing it proactively. But it isn't something that we are taught at school. We are getting taught what you need to do in order to be successful, but not how to think, and also how to self promote yourself in a way that is not sleazy or slimy, but actually adds value.
Exactly. That's lots of people have to learn, especially in this virtual world. Means you have to need another language. You have to much more global present, and you have to use technique and to be visible. What are your insights? How to get visible? Because one thing you lots of people are knowledgeable. They have lots of experience, like me, like you. We have a corporate career behind us, and we thought we know so much, but outside this company, nobody knows. Yeah, how to get this visibility? What are your tricks, hacks?
I love this question. Well, it all starts with defining what your niche is. And nowadays, because we've got a lot more competitors in the market, we can't say we are the go to for technology or marketing or accounting, because it is too crowded. So, firstly, we want to define what we actually want to become known in. So, as micro niche, and it could be, my favorite way to carve out your own positioning is to combine two worlds. So it might be that your background is very unconventional to your profession and you want to leverage this as competitive advantage. It might also be that you are focusing on strategy versus execution. So how to deliver your area of expertise. It also might be a way to differentiate between the decision makers, at knowledge advanced level versus beginner. Where do you sit? And you can also, from the traditional marketing approach, create a competitor matrix. Where do you see yourself in those four quadrants sitting? What is your point of differentiation? What is your micro niche that you want to own? Once we know that, we then can develop a communications and content plan to get visible. And it all starts with building your own digital footprint, because nowadays, uh, finding ourselves is the first point of contact is usually online. And when you Google somebody's name, you will see that the first 3 or 5 search results are your LinkedIn profile, because Google sees LinkedIn as a trusted source of information. So the first point that we want to have, no matter the industry or profession that you're in, is we want to optimize our LinkedIn profile with the right keywords, that we make that already appealing for somebody visiting our profile and see the right information.
That it combines
This is
as well
one part.
your two business. Yeah, I mean, looking at LinkedIn in the past was in kind of a CV stuff. Yeah, you can place your CV and the recruiters could find you there, but you have to think differently. Or means to, if you use LinkedIn as your presentation, your platform of your achievements and what you're actually doing, and not only as a CV. Yeah, it's a portfolio approach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, and I always say change the mindset from resume to resource. So it's not just about 15 years experience in this and this industry, because this is boring. It does not work. What is a caption, an interesting attention grabber? It might be a statement, a quote, a statistic, anything that draws people in to read further into your about me section. And then also tell your story. How did you get to where you are now? And most importantly, what do you want to do next? Because this is why so many get stuck where they are right now. Even how can we get in touch with you? There are so many people who are not giving a call to action, and we human beings are lazy. If we don't know what the next steps are, nobody acts on it. So we want to train ourselves to become also a marketer of ourselves, because this is one of the key skills that we need to master. It's not just enough to be the best at what you do. You also need to be able to market and sell yourself, position yourself the right way.
That means, wow, this is fantastic. It's really, you have to build a hook in your story. Means then you have to if you make it, then this attention span of people in the internet is only 2 seconds. If the hook is working, then you can tell your story, but that has as well to be compelling. Otherwise, you get never to your CTA, to your call to action, I guess.
Exactly. And this is, I would say, your home base. So this is one thing that you own. But I would also recommend to build up your digital footprint a lot further. This is also how you can become more visible. So on LinkedIn, for example, easy ways is to follow relevant hashtags, those keywords that we want to be associated with that are relevant to our professional industry, and see who is already talking about that topic. How can we join a conversation? Because in the end, this is what social media is all about, joining a conversation that already happens and contributing with our insights, with our point of view. And this is one way how we can get visible for the right decision makers. But then you can also extend it further and see who else can I tap into to gain more exposure by also contributing. And this is also one of the reasons why we are, for example, at the Forbes Coaching Council, because this is a network that we as individuals couldn't tap into, but this is exactly our audience, decision makers, senior executives, business owners. So this is another way. And we contribute content, we write articles, we post on the expert panel and share our insights and our short tips. In the end, as I said before, nowadays we cannot outspend other companies because we've got all the ad blockers on, but we can out contribute. And content, I see, is one of the biggest differentiators also between the expert and the authority. Simply sharing what you know in a way that resonates and makes sense to decision makers is a way to stand out.
Wow, wow. Means we are really tapping into this century or the economy of creating content, how to market yourself, yeah, especially to distinguish from the rest who's only doing these old boring ads, buy me, buy me, buy me. It's just you providing content, if I understand you correctly, and by this you get traction, attention, and as well, it's about relationship. Business or your personal career as well is about relationship. You have to build up this relation to people, that you're
Absolutely.
trustworthy, a
And
trustworthy partner.
exactly. And, you know, I always say there are three components to becoming the trusted authority. It's obviously the capability. I can't say I'm the go-to architect for passive houses because I've got no idea. So this
Fake
is
it till you
already
make
the
it.
wrong positioning. So, but it starts with, you know, your education, your experience, your background. Can you back up your claims with results, basically?
Walk
Then
the
it's
talk.
also credibility. Have you got the education for it? Have you got mentors? Have you got access to certain institutions? And then, of course, social proof. And this is where the community comes in. Often, as technical experts, we are over indexing in becoming better what we do, but we are under indexing and not investing in the other two elements, community and social proof, because we can be the best. But if no one else approves of it, if we don't get recommendations, if we don't get the other people's input or feedback, we're not getting any further. And nowadays, you know, it comes from psychologists. We're looking for those social proof elements. We're not just booking a restaurant based on their website. We're looking at the reviews and ratings. What do other people say about it? And the same goes for our skill sets. And we can see already LinkedIn is jumping onto this trend. We can add services provided under our profile. A few weeks ago, I also got added the feature rated for the services. So it becomes a lot more transparent. And I'm pretty sure that it's going to be extended to actually provide services that you can then even be rated based on your services, and we become more it becomes more a platform between supply and demand, like Fiverr, for example, or Upwork, where you provide your service and your knowledge and your expertise for somebody who's looking for it.
Yeah. Yes, I think it's exactly. I see the same way. It means you can compare it in the past when you went to a restaurant. There was already a long queue in front of the restaurant. You know that probably this restaurant people like. Yeah, love the food. It's a kind of a social proof, and you need that as well as an person who wants to be visible as well. You need proof in terms of number of followers, number of engagement with your post, number of uh, even in LinkedIn you can put in how you recommend somebody or how you work together with somebody. You can write it down, and you need this proof more and more to that people can see that you're a trustworthy authority in the field you are saying you are. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And I would also say, especially when we start, people can get hung up on the vanity metrics, on the numbers. Having said that, on LinkedIn, most of my clients actually never engaged in my content. They are often not even connected to me, but they have followed me for a while, and they still build a relationship with me based on the content that I put out there. So my content and my contribution does the heavy lifting for me. They make up already the mind whether they like my approach or not,
Yeah.
whether they like my personality or not. And this also reduces the fear of making quote unquote the wrong decision, because there are already touch points prior to actually engaging with us. And this is also what differentiates people who are actually getting chosen and the ones who are just there and being the best at what they do, but nobody knows about them. What are you contributing and showcasing and demonstrating your knowledge, because it's such an intangible good that we don't know if a graphic designer is any good or not if we don't see a portfolio, if a digital marketer is any good if they don't show their work. It's all about showing rather than telling.
Yeah, and you have to show, and you have to really provide value in your content. And I see lots of very good content on LinkedIn as well, even on Instagram. I see lots of good content, but I see as well still lots of simple ads. Yeah,
Yes.
like today I'm doing this webinar and join and buy here, click here to buy,
Yes,
and it's not working because I don't know how you feel. You're scrolling over those posts definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're blinking out. And this is another way how we can actually become visible, having partnerships and collaborations like we do at the moment. We're tapping into each other's audiences, for example, because we've got a similar focus but a different but complementing offer. So there is no competition as such, but we are very much aligned with
Yeah.
what the vision is, what we believe in, but we've got a different area of expertise that can together create value for others. And this is one of the best ways to get traction with your own content, simply sharing it with other audiences. The next one could be pitching yourself to podcasts, for example, or being a panel speaker at a local industry event. It doesn't even need to be global straight away. It's not about being famous. It's not about ticking the vanity metrics and having thousands of people following and liking and engaging with our content. It's about the right people.
Yeah.
And this is where we can then be more strategic with where do we show up, where do we over index on for a while to actually get some traction, and where do we also decide to not focus on because it isn't our audience, it isn't our platform, and it isn't our way to communicate.
Yeah, yeah, I agree completely. And because I see LinkedIn is the same, or most of the social media the same. You have one part is to collaborate with people. You, like we have kind of really easy cross-functional in a diverse universe. You get much better results and new content out there, which helps people. And face it, you have billions of people who wants to start their business, or they want to stop working 9 to 5. They want really to get more independent, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what as well lessons learned with COVID. People realize more and more that they need an own asset. The asset is knowledge, not but knowledge is only potential. But the really assets you have are the connections, the network, the people, how you can reach out, how they engage with you, and with the collaboration we do, we reach out to a very large audience and make them interested in things you can help with, and that's fantastic. You help people. I think the purpose is something different. Instead of selling something, it's more as you want to help people and achieve for them some solutions.
Absolutely. And as we always say, nobody wants to be sold to, but everyone wants to buy. We all have our challenges and problems that need to get solved, but it just comes down who is the best solution for it. And this comes down to seeing or making up our mind based on what we see in our first impression. And this is where our online and digital footprint comes in. What kind of footprint do we leave behind? Is it aligned with it? Is it in favor for what we want to be known for? Or is it from the past and we haven't actually fostered and managed it properly?
And what would your recommendation is? The one thing you mentioned, you need first your values, you need your own vision, you need your own where you're good at and where you want to help people. That's one thing. And then you build your niche. But how? people, I know lots of people, they're very shy to get out there and post every day or even 5 times a day on Instagram, doing YouTube videos. Uh, how can you help them to overcome their anxious? Are there different strategies for that?
Yes, absolutely. I love this question because I'm actually the biggest introvert myself. And it took me a while for me to put myself out there. But in the end, I had to, because when I got into recruitment, it's all about you know and who knows of you. How I got started and how I also recommend everyone else to who just gets into the whole social media and online game is to engage in conversations that already happens. And this is another reason why I'm such a fan of LinkedIn, because you don't need to create your own post straight away. You can engage in other people's content, leave a meaningful comment, and also ask a question back saying, thanks so much for sharing this insight. I'm curious about the opposite. So rather than just saying, great article, somebody would come back and say, okay, thanks, but there's nothing else that we can continue on with. Whereas if we ask the question, if we say, but have you seen it from this angle? What do you see is the impact of so and so on this topic? So all of a sudden, we actually create value by continuing the conversation. So this is one way how we can get visible. And then the next stage would also be to curate other people's content. Like I'm connected with an incredible thought leader on LinkedIn, and he has never ever posted what we call original content, but he's an incredible DJ of curated content. This is also what he calls himself. So what type of content is relevant and is of value that you've seen from your own research, and you are providing value by sifting through the sheer information, the sheer amount of information, and only post the best content. It could be an infographic, it could be a slideshow, it could be a step-by-step process, anything like that. So we can also become a curator of the best content, and with that be the value creator rather than always having to come up with our own original content. And the last thing that I would probably also recommend is to identify your personality. Like for me, I couldn't commit to showing up on YouTube every week because I'm not good with the editing yet. I don't want to put on makeup all the time either and get ready for it. Whereas others thrive in that way to communicate. So it's also finding your sweet spot, because in the end, building a brand and being trusted comes down to being consistent. If I go hardcore for 3 weeks and post every day, 5 times a day, we get traction, but then we drop off again. And this is what actually is more damaging to your brand, rather than posting once every other week, but being consistent with that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think it's a golden nuggets you're giving away here. And I see the same. So you have one thing, if you want to, you can do just a slideshow even without showing yourself. Even if you're doing the YouTube thing, you can do a kind of a webinar where you don't have to be on that live. You only show slides, and you can explain this how-to videos. They work fine, and YouTube, I think, with Google together is one of the biggest search engines as well. If people are
Absolutely.
looking for something, they Google and they automatically end in YouTube. And therefore, it's a good idea probably as well to use YouTube if you are into how-to videos. Yeah? If you're, like what you said, just a creator, you're just diving in the internet and finding out the best information and put them together in a digestible infographic, that's fantastic as well. And if you're extrovert, then you can go live every day without a problem. Yeah? I see that as
Exactly.
well.
But it comes down to the preparation, having a plan, and having activities towards this plan, because otherwise, most of us, it's not our full-time job. And when life gets busy, it's usually the first thing that drops. And this impacts your visibility. And all of a sudden, when you see yourself, you have to pivot, you want to change careers, you want to move up the ladder, you don't have the network because you haven't done your groundwork. So we always want to build a roof before it rains. And this is the same with our network, with our online profile, because it doesn't happen overnight. We don't want to connect with somebody and 2 minutes later send them a message saying, hey, do you want to hire me? Do you want to buy from me? Because it doesn't work like that. It is all about the long-term game and being in for the right reasons.
Yeah, it's all about trust. I tell my clients all the time, business is about relationship. If you don't relate in a positive way, nobody's buying from you. And on the internet, it's even worse. It's not anonymous. Means you never. I would never buy from somebody on LinkedIn if I've talked to him in a personal, in a Zoom or on the telephone at least. It's about relationship, and you have to get them out of the internet, if you like, into your own space and to communicate. That's, I think, for me, one of the most important things. It's just one part to interact with people, but if you want to do business, you need a relationship, and without a relationship, you never get clients, and they never will buy from you. And therefore, this trust authority is so important. Um,
Absolutely. And it all comes down to also building this customer journey. It starts on LinkedIn, but you're right. Social media is only one piece to the puzzle. It's all about creating the awareness. But how can we nurture and take this relationship further? And this is through channels that we own. So building an email list is one of the most important and valuable assets that you can have for yourself, also when you don't necessarily run your business, but simply by, say, using the LinkedIn events feature, where you can set up an event that you can also live stream via, say, Zoom, for example, or Eventbrite, or whatever it might be, and you click this button that it says set it up as a LinkedIn event, you can download those email addresses. So this is one way how you can actually build your email address list, because those people already said, yes, I'm interested in this topic, and you can then stay in touch with them via a newsletter, via updating them on the latest blog posts or interviews that you had, and nurture this relationship before we come into the selling part. But yes, it's all about taking this conversation further, being more personal, and also eventually, getting on a phone call with them, for example, or on a Zoom call, and discussing
exactly.
what opportunities are further.
Exactly. And what would you, because you're doing your both, you're doing the personal brand on the one hand side as well, you're helping for the talent with the other company, for people who wants to look for a job, how can they use LinkedIn?
Yes, absolutely. Well, in the end, nowadays, it is a candidate-driven market. So it comes down to positioning yourself the right way, but also helping them to set up their LinkedIn profile in a way that they are seen as the go-to and the resource, rather than just a static resume. So having a standout profile photo to start with is a good start, because there are three elements where our eyes go first, and it's the profile photo, the personal interaction, then the background, so the backdrop, and that could be, I always say it's the prime real marketing real estate for you. You can have images on there, you can have a quote on there, you can showcase the tools of trades, how you do certain things, and then the headline. So instead of saying marketing manager at company XYZ, we want to use keywords: strategic marketing management, marketing for SaaS companies, marketing management, marketing analytics, social media marketing. So all of a sudden, I talked in 5 ways about marketing without being repetitive, but I'm adding the keywords. So when a recruiter or a hiring manager looks for those skill sets, my profile comes up straight away.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
this is one
somehow
way how we
similar
can do it.
to because I'm in business. I have various clients. If you're looking for an employee, you have only then one client, if you like, and then you have to be attractive to them. Exactly. Therefore, you need the keywords on the one hand side, and your profile, your portfolio you're presenting on LinkedIn has to be tailor-made to what this client wants from you.
Absolutely. And also, my second business is also providing recruitment services. So often we don't even send the CV anymore, but only the link to their LinkedIn profile. So if it's not up to date, if there's not a little bit content on there that showcases that they are the best, they're already missing out on those opportunities. Because as we said before, we've got such a short attention span. We need to cut through very quickly and showcase in a couple of seconds whether we tick the boxes in terms of what they're looking for, or if they're clicking to another person's profile.
Yeah, absolutely. It's wow. And you are in Forbes, and we're both on Forbes, and you're writing there as well. I can show you to the audience as well what you're doing there. I'm just clicking the right one. Just give me a second. It's
Yes.
always a question of technique here, and you see it's a live show. You heard already in between that my son was coming in. Yeah, hopefully it wasn't. And for example, here 2 articles from Petra and you're doing constantly articles as well. You're on the expert panels on forums and giving away really valuable information. And
Yeah, I was very excited. This article about trust was released last week, and it's a topic that hasn't been talked about before. But as I said, nowadays it all comes with more competition and having a noisy marketplace. It comes down to trust, and this is what I see is the career currency in this digital first world that we live in. Can you be trusted to deliver what you say you're delivering?
yeah, and as you said, that you are the go-to person in the one sense, but you're only the go-to person if you are a trustworthy person. If nobody trusts
Absolutely.
you, nobody will go to you. And in terms of people where can people find you? You're quite active on Instagram, but more active, I understood, on LinkedIn.
Yes. So I always say my primary platform is LinkedIn because this is where my audience is. And this all comes down to where do I actually want to become the go to? I don't want to become the go to for, say, female entrepreneurs only, because it's actually not my target audience. It's quite the opposite. It's usually males or quite masculine professionals in tech industries or in left-brainer industries.
Yeah.
So Instagram is a platform that I use for more creativity, for some inspiration, for just connecting more casually. But my main focus is LinkedIn. Second, it's Instagram. And this is also knowing where you put your effort and your time and resources on. Do I have a profile on TikTok? No, and I probably will never open one either because it's not my time to communicate. It's not my audience. But others, they smash it on there. So it all comes down to knowing who is your decision maker, who do you want to get in front of, and how can you build a profile and a presence there, not everywhere, in your micro niche.
Mhm. Oh, I love that very much. Petra, just once more back to careers. And I think we talked in as well last time in my podcast, or in your podcast as well, the future of work, the future of careers. How do you envisage this future of work? How does it look like?
Well, I think we're all becoming a lot more responsible for finding, designing, and delivering work because freelance and gig economy is increasing rapidly, and also companies are downsizing and getting leaner and more agile in order to stay competitive. But at the same time, they still need those particular skill sets to deliver their promise. So it comes down to being able to deliver an end result rather than just a skill set, and knowing what kind of value can I provide with my background, with my area of expertise. And there are some studies that show that most of the jobs that we are performing in the next 15 or 20 years, they don't exist yet. Do I think it's going to be completely different to what we're doing now? I don't think so. It's going to be an evolution, and we need to be mindful about trends and changes that we're seeing in our professional industry. Like we see already technology is impacting every single industry in one way or another. Some industries are heavier impacted than others, but it doesn't mean they're not catching up on trends. There's another incredible study from Dr. Nadia. I can never say her last name because it's that long. She does incredible research on reinvention, and her study shows that even high investment companies like or industries like mining, they are reinventing themselves every 5 to 7 years, which used to be a 75-year span of reinvention, which means that we have to go through changes and realizing how technology impacts the systems that we use every day, what kind of tasks are going to be impacted by technology because they can be automated, because they can be done by technology. This is where we need to shift our focus. Accounting, for example, do I think accountants go away? Of course not. But will their role shift? 100%. Like even with my accountant over COVID-19, I had a lot more one-on-one interactions because I had more questions how the whole situation impacts my situation. Um, am I worried who does my tax return, a robot, technology, or a person? I don't care. It still comes to the same outcome. I want to be ensured that I can talk to somebody who can give me an answer. So communication is definitely a more important part in every single career. And being able to get the point across quickly is also more important than ever with working from home situations. We don't have the water cooler conversations where we can build the relationship and the trust and having the chit chats. So we have to be able to give an update on what the projects are all about, the problems, the next steps, what we've done so far. It's not self-promotion, but it's an important part to making your status quo visible, whilst being quite brief in your communication. And again, nobody teaches us how to do it. Even, Zoom skills, or online conference skills is going to be a really important part for pretty much every single profession. Does it take away?
The whole tool set has to change, and I'm coming from trends a lot, and the whole just look at big data, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things and blockchain. Only those technical things means knowledge is available digital in a digital format. And yeah, the computer knows everything. With AI, even could combine knowledge. That means there's a risk for lots of professions like teachers, like lawyers, like even doctors, if they are only repeat existing knowledge, they are not fast enough. The computer is much faster, even to combine this knowledge. But what is probably in the future more needed is emotional intelligence to interact, to relate to people, because in the end, it is all about people still, and knowledge is a commodity. That's probably the future
Absolutely.
and down the road. And how the way we're working together is changing dramatically. As I agree completely with you, because it's more in collaboration over continents, over industries, and you're working 2 days here, 1 day there, and you bring in your assets, your knowledge, your expertise, your authority, and you are go-to authority what is needed to do that in a quick and fast manner. I agree.
Exactly. And also from the World Economic Forum, the top 10 skill sets that are going to be relevant in 2025 and beyond, it's always creativity, problem solving, but also learning. We have to learn differently. We can't simply say we go back to university and get another degree, because it's usually not the answer. It's micro credentials. It's being proactive with upskilling on a specific topic. This is what the future of work is all about, and the future of learning on the go, listening to a podcast, listening to a webinar. We don't need to have a full degree in order to do something. And often by the time we finish the degree, everything is outdated already. So it's also rethinking how we approach skill development and professional development, because the traditional way of learning is not necessarily the one and only way to do it anymore.
Yeah, I agree. It's this people are fans of certificates, but a certificate doesn't prove you can apply the knowledge. It means you need people who can apply and combine knowledge somehow, and to break it down in an easy way that other people are capable of understanding it. That you can work
Exactly. And this
together.
is where
That's
people
the
get stuck with being the expert, getting another credentials, having the MBA, having another 2 years experience. It doesn't make you the authority if you're not able to translate how your knowledge impacts those people and make it simple for them to understand.
yeah. Wow. Petra, the time is passing by very, very quickly. I mean, what time do you have already in Australia? It's now you
It's
are,
1:45 midnight.
you know,
It's a midnight show.
that's great. You see how global the world had to become. Yeah, and due to COVID, it's even much more accepted working from home, working from anyway, and in just I want to give you the last words for today's talk, and the go-to authority was the topic. Just to give, if somebody wants to start their business, really, because they are bored with their old 9 to 5 job, or they're just coming from university, or whatever age they have, what should they do, or what 3 steps should they do to get to become this really go-to authority and to start the business?
Well, I think the biggest takeout that I want to um, take away is that everyone can become the go-to and the trusted authority in their field. It comes down to knowing in what kind of environments I want to play. So based on my background, based on my interest, based on my commitment to learning, I want to become the go-to in that industry for this type of decision making. So being very specific to start with, because once we break through the wall, we can then go broader. And often people are so afraid of specializing, but this is the only way how we can get traction fairly quickly and stand out and leverage the halo effect, because once we are seen to be really capable and trusted with marketing for, say, small businesses, word will spread, and this is also where social proof comes in. You will get other inquiries also for other freelancers and for bigger businesses. So you need to start somewhere, and don't be afraid to start small. Too many are afraid of making quote unquote the wrong decision, but we can only pivot when we are in movement, which means we have to take the first step and start small, and getting data points from those small projects and actions. Is it the right thing for me? Is it aligned with my values? Is it aligned with my personality? Can I keep up with doing that? Is it sustainable? So this is the first part. Then also defining what is actually the end result, the benefit that I can offer. Because when I say I've got 5 years experience in marketing, okay, so have a gazillion other people. What is it that I should hire you for? And then also updating your marketing material from your website to, if you've got a website, to your LinkedIn profile, to your resume, to a Behance portfolio, whatever it might be. So it's all about making it easy for others to see your values and your area of expertise in action through a portfolio, for example. And then contributing content and sharing your knowledge in one way or the other. And it could even be the 5 biggest mistakes or lessons learned throughout my career. You know, the if I had to start from scratch, this is what I would do. This is my behind the scenes. These are the tools that I'm using. Simply showing more than others and contributing more than others makes you already stand out.
Wow. Wow, thank you very much. And I can only recommend the audience, just contact Petra directly, send a DM on Instagram, or just go to LinkedIn and send Petra a message and start a talk, a conversation with her, how to start the business as well. I mean, so you can help them definitely to get noticed, to build their go-to authority in a fast and easy way. I mean, they have to do the work. You can't do that for them, but please do that. Petra, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And also thank you for leading the way when it comes to reading trends, being on top of those changes, and helping others to build their own business on their terms. So I love what you're doing, and I cannot support you anymore.
Thank you, Petra. Thank you. Thank you very much.